Okay, so it's becoming apparent that we need some sort of supply, we need some sort of demand. So just say your job's at work, you get into work and there's demand from your boss to supply him with whatever job you do. Okay, so there's supply and demand at your work, and there's supply and demand with the energies of your body. So we're going to have a think about, just say your job was you're in warehousing and you've got boxes coming in and you've got boxes going out. Yeah, you've got a certain amount of orders coming in and you've got a certain amount of orders going out. We're going to have a look at how your body has supply and demand too. So we do a bit of exercise. When we do exercise, we break down that sugar in our muscles, stored in our muscles, and we create a demand for glucose. So we had a look at how we fuel the muscles. Now we're going to have a look from the other side, from the exercise side, yeah, to make sense of it. So we create that demand. Now there's that demand for glucose, and there's a demand on that bloodstream. All right. Now the sugar coming from the bloodstream is going to get a demand, going to demand the liver. So your bloodstream ends up dry, and you end up with a low blood sugar. So it's going to say, okay, my blood sugar is low, and so it says, liver, give me some more sugar. Now you can either supply that with your macronutrients, with your carbohydrates, your fats, or your proteins, or you can supply it from your fat stores. So you have supply on the left, and you have demand on your right. So I've broken down to you to make it as easy as possible to see how our bodies have supply and demand. Now, no matter what fuel supplies we give our body, our liver is going to break it down, turn it into glucose, and restore to the muscle. Now, it's important to know that our body really wants to fill up that cup, okay? It really wants to fill it up with glucose. It doesn't like it being empty. You get hungry, you want to fill it up, okay? Now we're going to have a look at how we need to supply, how our demand needs to equal our supply rate. Has anybody here heard about metabolic rate? Yeah? All right, good. So we're going to have a look at metabolic rate. Now have a look at these. See those flashing arrows? Now each one of those arrows has a different metabolic rate. All right? So that means how the metabolic rate of fuel is how fast that fuel is going. Yeah? So that fuel is coming in at a fast rate or it's coming in at a slow rate. So this person doing exercise, you have a metabolic rate of exercise. So whether you're walking down the street at 4 kilometers an hour or whether you're running down the street at 15 kilometers an hour. Now that's a metabolic rate. Now you also have a metabolic rate of your bloodstream supplying your muscles, and that has a metabolic rate as well. You'll have a metabolic rate of your liver supplying fuel, supplying sugar into the bloodstream, and you also have a metabolic rate of your macronutrients, and you also have a metabolic rate of metabolizing that fat, the speed of it. So to put it in perspective, carbohydrates, it's going to shoot in, it's going to come in at 100 kilometers an hour, very fast. All right, so it's going to break down, it's going to restore to the muscle very fast. Now protein's going to come in at 58 kilometers an hour, and it's going to be considerably slower. So a protein used as a fuel is going to be a much slower fuel. And our dietary fats, now they're not really considered as a fuel, but if we choose to use it for one, now it's a very, very slow fuel, all right? But in comparison with all of them, I'm going to say that our stored fat, it's only going to come in at 1 kilometer an hour. Very, very slow. The metabolic rate of fat is so slow that it's hardly ever going to sustain our supply, our demand rate of our energy. So what we tend to do is we tend to bring down our macronutrient level, we tend to bring down our caloric level. So if I need 2,500 calories a day and I minus 20% of my caloric level, which is about right, 20%, then I'm going to need about, say, 2,000 calories a day. Now that puts my body in depletion. Now when my body is in depletion, that's going to bring in it's going to bring in a fat metabolism, and I'm going to start burning down that fat. Now it's still only going to be 1 kilometer an hour, but it's still 1 kilometer an hour. You never see anyone lose fat at 100 kilometers an hour. It just doesn't fall off that fast. It only comes down so fast. So you see people in the gym, and they're slamming themselves away. You see them on the treadmill at 100 miles an hour, and or they're on the cycle class, and they're trying to burn that fat as fast as they can. But your liver just cannot metabolize it faster than 1K an hour. Now, just say, and you see other people, you see people that get their diet right, and now I don't have anything that bad to say about cardio. I'm just saying that you have to ask the reason for why you do it. Now, just say the only influence of fuel supply that I had was my stored fat. Now you see bodybuilders doing this all the time. They got absolutely no supply of fuel from any of the foods they're eating, and they're going for a walk. Now if I had just my fat supply to burn off, and I'll be walking down the street about say 3 to 4 kilometers an hour. That's about the same metabolic rate of fat burn. And when I see a hill and I've got nothing but fat to burn, I start to fret because that hill's like, it's a big hill for me, all right? All right, and I've got enough muscle to get up that hill, but because I've only got fat to burn off, it's hard for me to do. The fuel's just not coming fast enough. So if you see somebody exercising at a faster rate than a walk, then they're going to be using a fuel supply from something that they've eaten. All right, so they're cycling away very fast. They're just burning up breakfast. All right, that's just one message I want to get through to you. So you're on depletion, and it brings in that metabolism of fat. Now, when we metabolize fat, that process is called ketosis. All right, your fat breaks down, it turns into ketones, and it moves to the liver, and it breaks down into glucose, and then goes to restore the muscle. All right, so that process there is called ketogenesis, the creation of sugar from ketones. All right, pretty basic. So has anyone heard of ketosis before? Good. All right. So and that's exactly how it works, and that's how your fat tries to restore to the muscle. Your body thinks it's more important to fill up your muscle with sugar than to have the fat in your fat storage. All right, so that's something that's good, right? The reason why it wants to have fuel in your muscle is because you're exercising. You know, you're still a hunter. Yeah, you still need to catch that kill. You still need to harvest. So it's going to think it's better for you to have that fuel in your muscle for you to operate. Okay, so now we're going to have a look at metabolizing our muscle cells. Something that we don't want to do. Don't do this. All right, so we exercise and we're running out of glucose. All right, now we're on some sort of diet where we're depletion of calories or we're depletion of carbohydrate, and our fuel supply isn't coming fast enough. Now we're also burning some fat along, all right, some fat's burning, but it's only coming at 1 kilometer an hour. Now what's going to happen when we're just not fueling our muscles, you're not getting that supply and that demand rate matched up well, is you are depleting too much and you'll end up running out of glucose. Now when there's no more sugar left in the muscle, that's when your muscle has no other choice but to start burning up your muscle. Yeah, it's going to break down your muscle because there's no more sugar in the muscle. So it's going to start to metabolize that muscle and break it down. Now it's not something we want to do, but it's something that will happen if we don't have any other fuel sources available. Now that's called being unsafe, all right? That's an unsafe way to diet. We're going to have a look a little bit of that later, but that's called the unsafe side of ketosis. What you want to do is always have some sort of glucose in the muscle. So, it's becoming apparent now that management is key with our carbohydrates. If we're sedentary, if we don't have enough fuel, we're going to burn our muscle, and if we're sedentary and we have too much fuel, we're going to spill over. All right, so our supply and our demand, that management there is key for us not to either burn our muscles or to spill over and store fat. So the metabolic rate is the speed of the processing of fuel, the transits of those fuels. Ketosis is a burning of fat. Too much depletion burns muscle, and spilling over and burning muscle is bad management. So your supply and your demand must match. Okay.